In a scary moment as we went to commercial, Sophie Cunningham hit the floor hard. And
Sophie Cunningham, oh man, I got to tell you, this victory, it came with a big price.
Look at today's game where Sophie Cunningham went out in the first half. And that was such a huge blow for the Indiana Fever because Sophie Cunningham has been somebody, she has been the glue of this team since Caitlin has been out.
Sophie Cunningham was flat out targeted by a dirty player.
I'd say there's a near 0% chance that Sophie Cunningham plays again this year.
The Indiana Fever are the target of an official declaration of war from the basketball gods. And by eliminating Sophie Cunningham in the most tragic manner imaginable, they dealt their most devastating blow to date. What began as a typical game against the son of a basement dweller in Connecticut became a complete nightmare when Bria Hartley, who reportedly believes she is playing rugby rather than basketball, collided with Sophie's knee and left Indiana's toughest defender writhing in pain on the court.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what it was at first when I saw her went down. So let's break down the play where Sophie got hurt. So as you can see here, Bria Hartley is going baseline. Kelsey Mitchell is guarding her, and then Sophie comes over to help. And then Bria Hartley falls on her leg, and Sophie immediately grabs like her shin area.
They went at Sophie Cunningham early, and considering this is Bria Hartley, I'm not ruling out that she jumped through her knee. Considering who it is, I'm not. Like, Bria Hartley has been ejected multiple times. She's yanked Angel by the hair. This is the Connecticut Sun. This is a team that have jumped through players' knees before.
Bria Hartley has had dirty plays all season. You got to know who we're talking about. Bria Hartley is the same girl that pulled Angel Reese out of there by her ponytail just last game, I think 2 days ago. She pulls Becca Allen by her head to the floor, and Ariel Atkins goes over there to protect her teammate. Bria Hartley has been doing dirty things for all season. She's been a dirty player.
Every Fever supporter began to wonder if this infamous season would ever end due to the injury epidemic that has plagued them all year long when they saw Sophie clutching her right knee while tears were streaming down her cheeks. This is where the story takes the most amazing turn you could ever imagine, though, as the Indiana Fever pulled off the biggest comeback in team history without its defensive anchor and with a roster held together by athletic tape and sheer willpower. What followed defied all laws of physics, mathematics, and common sense. This is the kind of sports magic that only comes along once in a lifetime. So hit the like button and leave retort queens in the comments.
25 minutes didn't look like we had any business beating this Connecticut Sun team. For 25 minutes, we looked like the worst team on the court. Defensive rotations, Marina hitting the three, Sanaya Rivers taking it to the rim, Tina Charles, Aaliyah Edwards, out rebounding AB, Natasha Howard, but we came alive when we needed to come alive. We forced overtime. Kelsey Mitchell, back-to-back threes in OT. Lexi Hull, dagger three, putting the nail in the coffin.
I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you too. I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. You never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes, and we will never be counted out, because that is worth gold. That is worth gold.
Seeing the injury itself develop in real time was heartbreaking, and everybody who has been watching the WNBA this season is aware of Bria Hartley's identity and the reputation she has established. The player that grabbed Angel Reed's ponytail and yanked her out of the air is this one. The same shady rival who has been hurling elbows and making careless plays throughout the season while somehow escaping the kind of repercussions that ought to have led to her suspension months ago. Hartley lost control when driving to the basket in the second quarter. And instead of merely falling awkwardly, she struck Sophie's planted right leg like a wrecking ball striking a support beam. You have to question whether these officials will continue to tolerate such careless behavior until someone's career is permanently terminated because the consequence was so severe and obviously preventable.
Now, she was on the ground. She was crying. She was yelling. It definitely seemed like she was in a ton of pain. The training staff went over to her. They went to commercial break. Like, it was a real injury. This wasn't something, and Sophie's the type of player, a lot of times when she does get injured, she just gets right back up. She tries to walk it off. This was something that kept her down, and it was so hard to see. It is ironic because Bria Hartley has been in multiple scuffles this year with the Connecticut Sun. A lot of people would categorize her as a dirty player.
She roughs house. And Kathy Engelberg, this is why I say you wonder why there's so many goddamn injuries all over the league, because you are allowing people to play rugby and football and do UFC moves in the middle of a basketball game. In the beginning of this game, Sophie Cunningham is bringing the ball up the floor. She gets mugged, hit upside the head, knocked to the floor while dribbling the ball up the floor 75 feet away from the rim. Do you think the refs called anything?
Both Sophie's sister, I believe, and her mother both tweeted about this play. Now, Lindsay, her sister, said, WNBA, maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you, Sophie. And then Paula, who I think is her mom, that's what the internet is saying, she said, Hartley is a disgruntled player, having trouble everywhere she goes. She's plain mean and plays out.
You learned all you needed to know about the gravity of what had just transpired from Sophie's response. Because being strong, physical, and never giving up on anything or anyone is the foundation of this player's entire identity. It was the kind of moment where you know something major just happened when you saw her instantly grab her knee, begin hopping around on one leg, and then collapse to the ground in obvious agony. Given that Indiana is already down to essentially a skeleton crew of healthy players, the fact that she needed assistance from teammates and trainers to leave the court while obviously trying to put any weight on that leg should have been the end of the story. However, this is what from a league-wide standpoint makes the entire situation even more vexing. If the WNBA had been doing its job throughout the season rather than letting players like Hartley play like they were in a demolition derby, this injury would have been totally avoidable. In the first quarter, the referees allowed Hartley and her colleagues to get away with a number of cheap shots and excessively forceful moves, including slamming Sophie to the ground when she was dribbling the ball 75 feet from the basket without making any calls. There will ultimately be a serious injury when you foster an atmosphere where athletes know they can use UFC moves and rugby tactics without facing any repercussions. And that's just what took place today.
Connecticut Sun, by the way, if you guys have seen, they've done a lot, they have done a lot of reckless things in this game that haven't led to fouls. I don't think this is, I hope this isn't reckless. I can't rule out it being reckless. I hope it's not reckless. But at the same time, like, the referees, there were so many situations earlier on in the game that, in fairness, that the referees were letting them away with. The referees thought, okay, yeah, let's tee up Sophie Cunningham straight away in the game, and that's that's keeping the game in control. But from minute one, the Connecticut Sun, like, how many times have the Connecticut Sun against the Fever dove through people's knees? Multiple times this team has.
You guys brag about how physical. You guys wear it like a badge of honor. We're here to watch basketball. If we want to watch wrestling, we'll watch wrestling. If we want to watch fighting, we'll watch fighting. We're here to watch basketball. And Bria Hartley is no different than Dejanay Carrington. It's just nobody talks about it because she's on the Connecticut Sun and they...
The fact that Sophie Cunningham has taken on a central role on this Fever team during Caitlin Clark's prolonged absence is especially frustrating. Being the only player who is prepared to defend her teammates and provide the level of vigor and defensive presence that winning teams need. Since the All-Star break, she has been Indiana's most reliable player, averaging over 12 points per game, shooting over 50% from three-point range and exhibiting the kind of leadership that no player from the street can match. For a club that is already in the last stages of the playoff battle, losing her for any length of time would be disastrous.
Sophie Cunningham was by far, as the games went along, by a landslide, the best addition we had on this roster. From her play, her shot making, her defense, the intensity she brings, the energy, her having Caitlin Clark's back and actually being willing to fight and scrap when nobody else would hold Caitlin Clark down. Sophie Cunningham said, you know what? I got you. Now she's done. The best addition we had all season.
She is playing so incredibly well during the second half of this season. She plays hard every single night. She's super tough. She doesn't make excuses. Like, she is somebody who has really held this team together.
For the Fever, who entered this game having dropped 4 of their previous 5 games and in dire need of a win over the league's Peru's team to maintain their prospects of making the playoffs, the timing couldn't be worse. with Sophie possibly joining the list of players who could have their season ruined by uncontrollable circumstances. Sydney Carlson and Ari McDonald both out for the season due to their respective injuries, and Caitlin Clark missing her 13th straight game due to a groin injury. Indiana faced the very real possibility of having their season completely derailed. It seemed as though the last nail was being driven into the Fever's playoff coffin as the Suns surged out to a 19-point halftime advantage and stretched it to 21 points early in the third quarter. However, this is the point at which the narrative shifts from heartache to absolute magic because the Indiana Fever chose to write one of the most amazing comeback tales in modern basketball history rather than crumbling under the strain and hardship as most teams would have done in similar circumstance. Indiana started a second-half performance that defied every statistical model and probability calculator in existence, led by Kelsey Mitchell, who clearly decided that losing was not an option no matter how many challenges were put in their way. We saw the kind of spirit and resolve that distinguishes great teams from decent ones. The kind of champion level. What Kelsey Mitchell did throughout the last 2.5 quarters of basketball was nothing short of extraordinary. And her performance in this game merits its own devoted documentary series. Mitchell scored 34 points in the second half and overtime to tie her career high of 38 points after scoring just 4 points in the first half while seeing her team disintegrate around her. That's not only a fantastic performance on your own. In the entire WNBA this season, no player has scored more points than that one, and it arrived just when her squad needed a miracle to salvage their season. Mitchell did more than simply score points throughout this comeback. But the stats don't fully capture what she accomplished. In every aspect possible, she totally dominated the game. In addition to handing out 6 assists and pulling down 4 rebounds, she shot 11 for 222 from the floor, 5 for 8 from three-point range, and 11 for 12 from the free throw line. More significantly, she finished the biggest comeback in team history by scoring all 10 of Indiana's points in overtime, including consecutive three-pointers that effectively ended the game. Mitchell acted like a real superstar when the stakes were at their highest and the pressure was greatest. The historical background of Mitchell's accomplishments further heightens the impact of her performance. Since she recently joined Diana Taurasi as the only player in WNBA history to record multiple games with 35 points or more, 6 assists or more, and 5 or more three-pointers according to the record books. When discussing critical plays and outstanding individual efforts, that is the type of group you want to be in. Even more amazing is the fact that this occurred during the most important game of Indiana's season when their squad was severely damaged by injuries and their playoff dreams were in jeopardy. However, Mitchell didn't achieve this recovery alone. The members of her support team who stood by her side should also be commended for their perseverance when everything looked lost. Odyssey Sims, who made her first start for Indiana in this game after recently signing a hardship contract, led the attack with her playmaking and leadership, scoring 19 points and dishing out 7 assists. In perhaps her most comprehensive effort of the season, Aaliyah Boston dominated the stat sheet with 14 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals and 2 blocks. With 44 seconds left in overtime, Lexi Hall made a game-winning three-pointer that effectively sealed the victory. While Natasha Howard contributed 18 points and provided vital interior presence, even Brianna Turner, who hasn't played many significant minutes this season, helped lead the defense during pivotal moments of the rally and added 10 productive minutes off the bench. This was the result of a group's complete cooperation and refusal to use hardship and injury as justifications for not giving their best effort. Despite having a very small roster to work with, Stephanie White was able to locate the correct rotations and matchups. Thus, her strategic modifications during this comeback are also worthy of praise. It was a wise move to start Sims and give her important playing time in such a key match. However, sticking with Mitchell, despite his poor shooting performance in the first half, demonstrated the same level of faith in her players as championship coaches do. White's development as a leader is demonstrated by her ability to maintain her team's motivation and focus after witnessing Sophie sustain an injury and drop 21 points. Technically speaking, this comeback served as a masterclass in how to perform under duress to the point of elimination. The Fever responded by shooting 46% overall and 7 for 12 from beyond the arc in the second half after shooting only 30% in the first half and missing all 10 of their three-point attempts. On the offensive glass, they outscored Connecticut 14-17 and compelled enough turnovers to provide the additional possessions required to finish such a spectacular rally. Above all, they displayed the resilience and mental toughness that winning teams are known for. This victory's emotional impact goes much beyond its basketball-related ramifications since it embodies all that makes athletics inspirational and captivating. This club has suffered from injuries throughout the entire season. that lost its emotional leader to what might have been a devastating knee injury, had to recruit guys off the street to build a competitive team, and saw their superstar miss the majority of the season. Instead of utilizing those difficulties as an excuse to give up and concentrate on the upcoming season, any other club would have looked deeper and managed to accomplish a miracle. This comeback also conveys a strong message about the culture and character that have been developed inside the Indiana Fever organization, as such an accomplishment cannot be achieved without the proper mindset and personnel in place. The fact that both newcomers and role players came up when it mattered most indicates that individual talent isn't the only factor at play. It all comes down to having a set of beliefs that even when the odds are stacked against you, won't let you lose. That serves as the cornerstone around which championship campaigns are constructed. In the long run, this one might be the turning point that changes Indiana's entire campaign and postseason path. With 9 games left in the regular season, they are now 2.5 games clear of the 9th-place Los Angeles Sparks, having improved to 19-16 with a victory. More significantly, they demonstrate to themselves and the world that they are capable of conquering any challenge if they play with the same tenacity and heart that they displayed in this comeback. Thanks.